When I started this channel, I thought I'll mostly be doing designer unboxing, shopping hauls, and reviews about luxury items. But fortunately, I came to my senses quite soon after posting some videos, and every day I thank myself for it. I think if I did keep going in the other direction, I most likely would have a massive collection of Hermes and Chanel handbags right now, and things might look shiny on the outside, but I don't think I'll be a very happy person on the inside. For a number of years now, I've been focusing on topics about building a timeless wardrobe while being responsible with your financial future. This is something I really believe in. I think especially if you're someone who enjoys looking put together, having some timeless pieces in your wardrobe can be so valuable. And I'm referring to those items that you love reaching for no matter how many times you've worn them. In my opinion, you can make very mindful purchases while still keeping your personal finance a top priority. This is why I always talk about money on my channel because, let's be honest, you can't do shopping and many other things in life without it. Changing the direction of my channel means I no longer have the pressure of showcasing expensive designer items on every video. In fact, I cannot actually imagine what life would look like right now if this side hustle of mine depended on me purchasing new shiny items and featuring brand new outfits on a regular basis. I think in order to keep this whole consumerism thing sustainable, I will have to keep buying and then selling and then buying and selling just to keep the cash flow going. By now, I think we've all heard about vloggers getting themselves into debt, especially those who focus on portraying a life of luxury. If you think about it, it's really sad that we now live in a world where people feel like they have to wear certain things, drive certain cars, and live a certain way just to feel accepted. Now, this is never my full-time job, but let's say if I did go viral and somehow manage to make this my full-time gig, I personally would not want shopping and only shopping to be the foundation of what I do for a living. I don't want to wake up in the morning and have the first thing I think about be, what should I buy today? Worse still, I don't want to buy anything because of obligation. When I used to watch shopping channels, I used to wonder, how can these people afford so much designer shopping? Especially when they are also doing a 9-to-5 job and seemingly have the same responsibilities like everyone else. And I believe a lot of other viewers had the same questions as well. I remember when shopping channels first became a thing, I'll see a lot of questions in the comment section asking, well, what do you do for a living? How can you afford all these nice things? But even though we had questions, we started believing that it's normal to keep buying and then have a massive collection of Hermes or Chanel handbags on display. And dare I say, sometimes we become so detached from reality that we start comparing ourselves to the wealthiest people who can actually afford to live a life of luxury. And soon, we start creating this facade that doesn't actually align with our real everyday life. To give you an example, I have 3 Hermes handbags, and I'm incredibly grateful for what I have. But at some point in my life, I just wanted to buy more and more because that's what I saw on social media. What more, I really enjoyed the novelty of being contacted by my sales associate at Hermes, being offered bags that are supposedly hard to come by, and having that one-to-one attention whenever I showed up at the store. In many ways, I'm so glad I made the pivot because it's time to normalize a more realistic shopping behavior. The truth is, I didn't need more Hermes handbags. If anything, I was always working myself to the ground, so I didn't have any time to use any of my designer bags anyway. Besides, not many people can buy a Louis Vuitton handbag every other week, and not many of us have the time to do shopping at designer stores several times a week. For many people, repeating outfits and wearing the same handbags for years is the norm and it should be celebrated. With that in mind, I decided to start talking about appreciating what we have rather than constantly chasing more and more stuffs. Now, I can't speak for everyone, but in my case, I work as a healthcare professional, and even though I can buy a few nice things, I have to be very careful with my money, especially if I also want to invest and travel. This is why I always talk about why it's so important to be intentional with our spending. In fact, it has changed my life. I might not own the most impressive collection of luxury handbags, but I now have more leverage. I can choose how many days I want to work for my professional day job. I can allocate time for my hobby, and I can be very selective with who I work with for my side hustle. Some of you know I do accept sponsorships, but in the last 2 years, I've been trying to streamline who I work with, and it feels so liberating. For example, some brands will ask me to feature their products in a designer unboxing video. That clearly doesn't align with what I do, so I always make sure to be very honest with them. At the end of the day, I'm not going to buy something random just for the sponsorship. However, if I love the product and the brand gives me the creative freedom to give a very honest review, I will accept the sponsorship. In fact, I tend to mention the products again and again in my other videos, even when the brand no longer sponsors me. Now, I do know that sponsorships are not everyone's cup of tea here on YouTube, but I'm not actually apologetic about accepting them as long as the fit feels right. On the other hand, if the fit doesn't feel quite right, I love having the freedom to say no. And I think that is the only way to keep these side gigs sustainable and enjoyable, because I do want to keep doing it. You see, I don't think I can be a dentist forever, mostly because this job is very physically and mentally demanding. A lot of the work depends on your vision and your dexterity. What more, the job is also very location dependent, whereas if you have a creative platform, you can keep creating regardless of where you are or how old you are. So even though I find my day job incredibly fulfilling, I'm not sure if I'll be doing it in 10 years, but I can easily see myself creating videos as long as I still find enjoyable to do. Now, a lot of people seem to think retirement is about doing nothing, but I disagree. Personally, I always want to have something to work on to keep myself busy and my mind active. To be honest, even though this channel has been a source of revenue for me for quite some time now, I still see this as a creative outlet rather than a job. This is a position I'm very grateful to be in because I don't feel the obligation to create content that I don't feel passionate about. I still do shopping, don't get me wrong, but I don't feel pressurized to buy something just to create content. And with most things I buy, practicality tends to be a very important element. Instead of buying for status or attention, I now buy things that I will actually enjoy using in my daily life. And like I said in the beginning of the video, I tend to go for timeless pieces. The idea is that once I've filled a gap in my wardrobe, I'll keep wearing that item for many years, and hopefully I don't have to shop for that element again. Another rule that I follow religiously is that I will never allow myself to get into debt for shopping. If I don't have the budget for something, I'll be very honest with myself and delay the purchase accordingly. And can I just say, we should never feel ashamed about prioritizing the right things in life, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Essentially, it has been the right decision to stay true to myself and not let consumerism take over my life or my channel. Now, it's true that I don't have the biggest following and I have never gone viral, but I am happy. I have a fulfilling day job, which I do part-time, a very creative side hustle. I'm a lot more appreciative, and I now have more time than ever to work on my hobby, which is digital illustration. So as far as I'm concerned, life is good. By the way, I've been working very diligently on a project, which I really hope I'll get to share with you guys one day. But that's it from me today. Thank you so much for being here. Take care, and I will see you soon.